Hello students, today we will do Chapter 4 Bipin Choudhary's Lapse of Memory from Class 8th Honeydew book. It's part 1 and 2 we had already done by doing the listening activity which I had presented in my previous video. In this video we will see Part 3 and 4. Bipin Choudhary's Lapse of Memory is written by Satyajit Ray. It takes you through the journey of a man named Bipin Babu, who is faced with a very unique problem. And what is that unique problem? He has lost his memory of one and only incident from the year 1958, when he had a trip to Ranchi with his friend. Everyone except him recalls or remembers about his trip to Ranchi. As the story unfolds, he discovers that it was a punishment from an old friend of his named Chunnilal, whom he did not help in his trying times or difficult times. Here are some difficult terms from the chapter Bipin Choudhary's Lapse of Memory, Part 3 and 4. First one is carry on. That means continue. Second one is conscientious. That means careful and correct. Third one is a phrase, head was in a whirl, which means confused and able to think clearly. Fourth one, wits. That means intelligence. Fifth one is a phrase, tried to gather his wits together. That means make an effort to become calm and think clearly. Next one is utterly. That means absolutely. Next is having a rough time. That means having a lot of problems. Turning up like a bad penny. That means appearing at a place where one is not welcomed. Next is didn't beat about the bush. It means came straight to the point. Off and on. That means now and then. Throw your mind back. That means think back and recall a past event. Incredulous. That means unbelieving or doubtful. Sighed. That means emit a long, deep, audible breath expressing sadness, relief, tiredness or similar. Shook his head. That means an act to show agreement. Must see about consulting. Here in this chapter it means may have to consult. Thoughtful. That means absorbed in or involving thought. Anxiously. That means in a matter resulting from or revealing anxiety or fear. Procured. That means got with a little difficulty. Boulder. It means a very big rock. Came round. That means regained consciousness. Clamped. Here it means put. Affluence. It means the state of having a great deal of money or having too much of money. In retribution of. that means as a punishment for. Unfeeling means unsympathetic. Now, before I start discussing about part 3 and 4, I would like to recall part 1 and 2 shortly. Dear students, in part 1 we had seen that Bipin Babu met a man whose name was Parimal Ghosh, who claimed to know Bipin Babu. And he also told that Bipin Babu had gone to Ranchi trip in October 1958. And Bipin Babu was not able to recall or remember that incident. It was some 6 or 7 years before when Parimal Ghosh claimed that he had gone to Ranchi. That means Bipin Babu had gone to Ranchi. Listening this, he became too much tensed. He just told him every time that he was mistaken. But Parimal Ghosh was surprised and he tried to recall Bipin Babu about the incident. He also told about many secret informations of Bipin Babu, which made him surprised. And after that, when he was in his office, he was too much tensed. And after that, part 3 begins. Here, in part 3, we see that due to paying too much of attention to Parimal Ghosh's statements, Bipin Babu was extremely tensed. He was totally disturbed. And after lunch break, Bipin Babu had the realization that he just could not continue sitting on his desk. He was so uneasy and he could not work. Understand? This was something so unusual that he had not faced anything like it in his 25 years of association with the company. He was known for his hard work and diligence. Always he was so active in thinking anything. But unlike always, he was unable to think clearly today. As he reached home by 2:30 in the afternoon, Bipin Babu lay down in his bed and made an attempt to become calm, peaceful, to be able to think clearly. He wanted to be relaxed, to think about the Ranchi trip, which he was not at all able to remember. He was well aware about the possibility of losing one's memory because of an injury in the head. But he had never heard a case where one does not remember just one particular incident. It was more difficult for him to believe it because the incident he had forgotten was quite recent and actually significant or important. As it had been mentioned earlier, he had always wanted to go to Ranchi and do stuff so. It makes it all the more difficult for him to believe that he could forget about something he had wanted to do for a long time. Dear students, you saw that how much tensed Bipin Babu was, and he also thought that we can forget our memory if we have got injury in our head. But if we have not got any injury, how can we forget anything? And the main thing that was troubling him was he was only not able to remember one incident, and that was Ranchi trip. Rest all the things he knew very well. This was the thing which was giving him too much tension, and he was thinking about it deeply. It was about 7:30 in the evening when Bipin Babu's house help, that means his servant, came to announce that Chunni Babu had come to see him, and he says it's regarding something important. Means the servant told Bipin Babu that Chunni Lal had come to meet him for some important matter. But Bipin Babu was well aware of what he had come for. They both went to school together. They both were school friends. And Chunni Lal had been going through a rough time. He had some problems in his life. Most probably financial problems. So he had come to ask for help related to a job. Chunni Lal wanted that Bipin Babu should help him to give him some job in his company. Bipin Babu had already told him that it was difficult for him to help Chunni Lal with a job. But Chunni Lal did not stop turning up at his house. He was all the time coming to request him for the help. He has been compared to a bad penny to indicate that he was not very welcomed by Bipin Babu. You know that bad penny means a person who is not having any reputation, or who again comes to a particular place where he is unwelcomed. In the light of the current situation, here which situation is discussed? The forgetfulness of Bipin Babu about Ranchi trip, which made him too much tensed. So, again I repeat, in the light of the current situation, Bipin Babu sent a message for Chunni Lal that it would not be possible to meet him now or for a few weeks for that matter. As the servant left the room to convey the message to Chunni Lal, Bipin Babu was hit with an idea. And what was that idea? He thought there was no harm in asking Chunni about the Ranchi trip of 1958. So what he thought? That he would confirm about this trip to Chunni Lal. Bipin Babu rushed to the living room through the stairs, and Chunni was just about to leave because the servant had told that Bipin Babu didn't want to meet him. But on seeing Bipin Babu, he turned back in a ray of some hope. He became happy that Bipin Babu would help him. Instead of going round and round, Bipin Babu came straight to the point and asked Chunni in case he knew if Bipin Babu went to Ranchi in 1958. Bipin Babu told him that Chunni must remember because he had a good memory and had been seeing Bipin Babu every now and then. Chunni was not sure if it was 1958 or 59. Dear students, Bipin Babu asked Chunni Lal that did he remember that Bipin Babu went to Ranchi trip? But what happened? Chunni Lal also got confused about the year. Bipin Babu became sad, but he again confirmed with Chunni Lal that was he sure that Bipin Babu had gone to Ranchi trip? This left Chunni Lal shocked and worried. He asked Bipin Babu if he was having doubts about having taken that trip to Ranchi at all. Bipin Babu asked him again if Chunni remembers about his trip to Ranchi clearly. On hearing this, Chunni Lal sat on the sofa and stared or looked continuously at Bipin Babu for a long time. He asked Bipin Babu if he had resorted to drugs or something of the sort. Means he asked that Bipin Babu, have you taken any drugs or something like that? Why are you behaving like this? This was the direct speech spoken by Chunni Lal. Chunni Lal mentions how Bipin Babu had a good memory and had a clear record of the events of his life in his mind. He further adds that he is well aware of how disconnected Bipin Babu is when it comes to old friendships. But he could not believe that he had forgotten about such an important event like his trip to Ranchi. Here you can see that how indirectly Chunni Lal commented on Bipin Babu that he was not a good friend. When Chunni Lal made this statement, he looked continuously to Bipin Babu. For some time, it was an expression of anger that he was showing to him. Because Bipin Babu, in spite of being his friend, did not help him to get job. As Chunni Lal was staring at him, Bipin Babu had to look away. Chunni continued to ask Bipin Babu if he remembers what Chunni's previous job was. Bipin Babu remembered and told that his previous job was in a travel agency. Chunni pointed out that he remembers what his last job was, but how could he forget that it was Chunni only who booked his railway tickets to Ranchi? Means about Ranchi trip, he was totally shocked that why he was not able to remember anything. Chunni Lal was claiming that he had only arranged the railway tickets for him for that trip. He further added that he even went to the station to see him off. In support of his claims, Chunni Lal told that he even remembered minute details like one of the fans in Bipin Babu's compartment did not work properly and how he got an electrician to fix it. Chunni could not believe how Bipin Babu had forgotten about everything. He pointed out that Bipin Babu did not look in the best of his health and shape too. Emitting a sigh means taking deep breath, Bipin Babu shook his head in agreement that yes, he was not well. At last, Bipin Babu accepted that he had been working too much and that could be taking its toll on his memory. Means because of overwork, he was having exertion and maybe due to that he was not able to remember the things. They agreed that he needed to see a specialist for his condition. Chunni Lal left without even mentioning about the job. Bipin Babu finally visited a physician named Paresh Chanda. The young doctor had bright eyes and a sharp nose. He got into thinking upon hearing Bipin Babu's symptoms because before that he had never seen such condition. He had never treated such patient who had forgotten only one single incident. Bipin Babu told him that how badly he wanted to get rid of this illness. And he also told that his situation was horrible. He told that it might be affecting his work and started bothering him. He was worried that if his situation will be like this, he would not be able to work properly. Dr. Chanda agreed with Bipin Babu and he gave him some suggestions. He calls his suggestion worth a try. And he added that there are no negative consequences or results of doing it. And the doctor was giving him suggestion, Bipin Babu leaned or bent forward to listen him carefully. And the doctor suggested him that he should go to Ranchi once again. Because it was the belief of doctor that if Bipin Babu would go to Ranchi again, it may happen that he would be able to remember the time which he spent there, and in this way he would be able to remember the incident of 1958. After suggesting this, the doctor also prescribed Bipin Babu a nerve tonic and a medicine to reduce stress and anxiety that would help him sleep better. Because if anyone has mental stress, the most important treatment for him to have a good sleep. As Bipin Babu woke up the next morning, he felt a bit better. After having breakfast, he called his office to give some instructions and then arranged a first-class ticket to Ranchi for the same evening. He reached Ranchi the next morning, and as soon as he deboarded the train, put his step out of the train, he was sure that he had never visited that particular place before. He took a taxi as he came out of the railway station and roamed around in the town for a while. He had never seen those buildings, hotels, markets, or Morbadi Hill ever before. He was not sure if a trip to the Choudhary Falls would make him remember the incident. But he did not want to miss any chance of doing efforts to bring his memory back. So he arranged for a taxi to Choudhary Falls and he left in the afternoon. It was around 5 o'clock the same afternoon when two Gujarati men who had come with a group of picnickers found Bipin Babu lying unconscious beside a large rock. When he regained his consciousness, his first words were, "I am finished. There's no hope left." Dear students, Bipin Babu was trying to remember his accident in Choudhary Falls in 1958. So he was doing drama of lying down there unconsciously. He was trying to make the same scene that happened in Ranchi trip in 1958 according to Parimal Ghosh. But after doing that drama also, he was not able to remember anything. So he started saying these words that he was finished and there was no hope left. Bipin Babu had realized that there was no hope left for a situation like his. So he came back to Calcutta the next morning. He began to worry about how he might lose everything. His interest in work, his confidence, his abilities, and peace of mind. Everything was totally disturbed. He even wondered or surprised that he could end up in an asylum if the situation worsened. He had exhausted his ability to think anymore by that time. As he was now at home, he contacted Dr. Chanda and requested him to visit him at his place. He took a shower and got in bed with an ice bag on his head. It was only then that his servant brought him a letter that he had found in the letter box. The envelope was green in color. It was written urgent and confidential on it. Regardless of how he felt at that moment, Bipin Babu could anticipate that he should open and read this letter. So he tore open the envelope and took out the letter. The letter began with a salutation to Bipin, means the person had written the letter to Bipin Babu. The writer of the letter had further shown disappointment at how wealth had changed Bipin Babu. He says that it was unexpected. In the latter, Chunni Lal asks him if it had become so difficult for him to help his childhood friend. Chunni Lal further adds that he has scarcity of resources. He has shortage of resources as he had no money and all he had was imagination, which he used to take revenge for Bipin Babu's behavior towards his misery. He reveals and opens the secret that Bipin would be fine now. He also tells him that a novel that Chunni Lal had written is being considered by a publisher. He will have enough money for the next few months if the publisher likes it and approves of it. It means this letter was by Chunni Lal, and he told everything in this letter that he only had created such situation in which he wanted to trouble Bipin Babu, because Bipin Babu had not helped him in getting the job. So dear students, it was Chunni Lal's prank to disturb Bipin Babu, and he had created this story of Ranchi trip to disturb Bipin Babu. And when Dr. Chanda came to see him, Bipin Babu revealed that he has got his memory of the Ranchi trip from 58 back. Means he told that he now remembered the trip of Ranchi in 1958. It all came running back as he got off the train. Bipin Babu told that when he went to Ranchi and came out of the train, he remembered all the incidents. Dr. Chanda remarked it as a unique case and informed that he would add this in his medical journal. Bipin Babu tells the doctor that he called him to prescribe him a painkiller for the pain he had in his hip from the fall he had in Ranchi. So dear students, you saw that Bipin Babu did not tell the truth in front of the doctor. Otherwise, the doctor would have laughed on him. So this was a very funny story, and this story tells us about a practical joke that a friend plays on another friend out of spite for not helping him in time of need. It teaches us the lesson of as you sow, so shall you reap. Means whatever you do in your life, you get the same thing. If you do good things with others, people will also do good with you. And if you hurt someone, others will also hurt you. Hope you have understood the story. Thank you very much for watching the video.